Right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Would I Buy? And we are looking at, I can't even pronounce it, but it was Sword Art Online. And this is essentially the new RPG in a series. I think, is it the third RPG now or something? Maybe they've had a couple more. I know they've obviously had another, like mobile and stuff like that. So it's got a fair few, but in terms of actual main RPGs that I'm aware of, I think this is be like the third main one. Now, I have played briefly the first one that came out, and then I very, very briefly played the second one. Now, I obviously would not put myself as a Sword Art Online fan. I mean, I have watched the first series and I did enjoy it. I think it was a brilliant concept, but I kind of felt as if after a bit it kind of lost its novelty. I kind of liked the idea of the real people, going into this virtual world, then being trapped there, and if they die in the game, they die in the real world. That is an interesting concept. And then, I don't know, it kind of just lost the plot a little bit, I suppose you could say. I kind of stopped following it after the first series, and I weren't really into it as much. So, obviously, when it came to playing the RPGs, I did enjoy the other ones, but I wouldn't exactly said that I was a big fan. And I suppose the only way I could describe the other ones was that they were, I think you had to be a big Sword Art Online fan. And I think when it comes to this one, I think this is the first time, from what I've seen out of all three, where they've sort of tried. I mean, I don't know whether it follows a series or not, or whether it is something unique that they've done. But whatever it is, they seem to have tried to actually build a proper RPG. So they've tried to build this world that you can freely explore around in, and you've got your quests that you can take. So I feel like that, if I were to compare it to the other Sword Art Online games, there is a big improvement from what I've played on the others, because the other ones were very repetitive in that respect, where it would just it just felt like a bit of a dungeon crawler. And I have no problem with the dungeon crawler, but this one kind of felt more like a proper RPG in comparison to other games. Now, obviously, it's not the high, well-polished game as other like AAA type RPGs, but the thing is, because it's based off a popular anime, I feel like it's, I don't know, when I first started to play it, I suppose you could say I feel like it's still built for Sword Art Online fans, and that's fair enough if you are a Sword Art Online fan. But at the same time, I feel like because it's targeting these Sword Art Online fans, I have said that a lot. I feel like, is it banking on people being such a big fan of it that they're going to look past all the issues? And I suppose my experience of it when I went into it, the first thing I noticed straight away was just it was not smooth at all. The frame rate was not very good. It's like, for such a basic game, basic graphics and everything, which is no better than, years old RPGs, PS3 type games, it's still no better than them. And the frame rate was very, very bad. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into the technical stuff of talking about 30 frames and 60 frames and stuff. All I know is that it was not 60 frames, I will put it that way, and it does stutter quite a bit. And I'm like, really? In this day and age, for such a basic thing, we're still having that issue? And that's where I kind of think, oh yeah, I feel like it's wanting people to look past that because they're a Sword Art Online fan. So that was sort of one strike. And then it came to the gameplay itself. Now, I will say that the characters and stuff like that, it seemed like it could potentially be interesting, but it kind of feels as if, I don't know, it's like it forgot that it's a Sword Art Online. To me, as I say, Sword Art has always been about characters that get trapped in a virtual world, and at the very, very beginning, yeah, they do mention the main character you play as is like, oh, well, I've just logged in, I don't know this place. And then he meets a character, he's not really an NPC, but he's not really acting like a player either. So, and then I'm like, straight after it did that, you're able to, you know, in the game itself, you're able to take control of that character. And I'm like, I thought the whole point was that you're supposed to play a character in this virtual MMO. So why is it letting me play these other characters? And I know that's such a silly thing to be complaining about, because it sounds good, it sounds brilliant, that yeah, okay, brilliant, you can actually play as other characters. Yes, you can. But I kind of feel as if there are other RPGs that's done it better. You know, there's many games out there where you can play as the different characters and stuff like that, but I think kind of one of the novelties of why I went into Sword Art was that immersion, that I were that character. I was trapped there and I was talking to NPCs and kind of interacting with NPCs in that, I don't know, it's kind of like that fourth wall feeling. That maybe that's kind of what I expected. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Who knows? But yeah, it just feels a bit strange that you, in terms of the story, it sort of goes into that depth. It starts out with saying that they're not an NPC and they're not a playable character, but, or should I say another player, but then it goes on straight away afterwards. It's almost as if it forgot straight away that it's a virtual world, an MMO type world, and it just sort of goes into a normal RPG territory. And like I say, that sounds great, but the problem were, it just did not capture me at all, did that story, and I'm really sorry to say that if you are a big fan, but it just did not capture it. And I think the problem were, it still retains a lot of the stuff from the previous Sword Art games, and when I say that, it has a lot of fluff. I'm going to put it bluntly, a lot of fluff. Now, I am all for a lot of text-based heavy type games, if it's interesting, but I just felt as if the whole demo was just a bunch of random melodrama. People talking rubbish, talking about, I don't know, just any old thing. They were talking about a tree. They were talking about a tree for about half an hour and whatnot. I feel like, and I'm like, I don't care about that tree. Just move on, get on with the plot. And it probably were a big important part for all I know. I don't know, but I'm just like, please move on. And I'll be honest, I kind of found myself wanting to just skip a lot of the dialogue because it just did not capture me. And it, as I say, yes, in the other Sword Art games, it had a lot of fluff as well. It had a lot of text, heavy based stuff. But it was kind of like, that was a bit more linked up to the series. You had the characters from the series, and maybe these are as well, so maybe it's not targeted towards me. But all I saw was a lot of fluff. And it just did not engross me. So obviously when it comes to the combat itself, I kind of liked the gameplay itself, because as I say, it's a traditional open world type RPG where you do your quests, you gain your XP, and it seems like you have your side quests and stuff. But obviously I never really fully looked into all that. You have your typical skills and everything that you'll level up. All that would seem fine and all that would seem fun, but all I can say is everything that I played was just a bunch of melodrama. It didn't feel like there was anything really tying into a main plot. It was just talk to a few characters. That character started talking about another character that had gone missing, and then you'd go have to find that character, and then that character would be in trouble. And it was just like that and that and that, copy and paste, just with a few different characters. And yeah, it was just, I've said it a few times, but yeah, melodrama. A lot of melodrama that I just didn't really catch me, because I've seen it numerous times in other games, and when it was part of the main plot as well. And then all I can say is at the end of the demo, it's not even really spoilers, but that one of my quests was I had to gain a few materials to do some cooking. Yeah, okay, sounds great, sounds fine. And then after I did that quest, I'm like, oh, you've reached the end of the demo now. And I'm like, you've not left it on any real cliffhanger. I was heading towards a village. I was supposed to be heading towards a village or town. You made me just randomly camp. The characters talk a lot about your typical rubbish about how one character wants to move on. The other characters say, no, slow down. We don't have to move on. Let's just chat. Utter rubbish for another 50 odd sentences. And then the demo ends, and I'm like, seriously? This is how you're gonna end it? And yeah, all I can say is it's a shame. And I can't, but the thing is, I kind of want to play it for the gameplay, and I kind of enjoy it that, but I just feel as if I were to play that, I'm doing it for the gameplay alone. I'm definitely not doing it for the story here. And when it comes to the price of it, it's a bit much to ask here, because what is essentially here is just a standard RPG. It doesn't feel like there's a whole lot to it other than your normal typical combat, hack and slash combat, and the typical grind. And the world itself, again, is just a typical generic. I mean, even in the demo, just literally I found a statue, walked around the corner, found the exact same statue. So there's a lot of cut and paste, repeated scenery, and I kind of just feel as if this was very quickly thrown together. And I'm not saying that I couldn't enjoy it ever, but it's a lot to ask at £45 again, because I've seen at the same time that you can get the other two Sword Art Online games for about, I think they're on sale at the moment, they're about £6 or £7 each, and I'm like, I'd rather spend £14 to £15, get them two games right now and play through that, cut past all the melodrama, then pay £45 for this. The characters are good, and I think I'd have been more inclined to buy it if it was a lot less melodrama. But obviously, like I say, I'd like to play, and I'd like to obviously level up the characters and stuff like that, but I think I could probably wait on that, because there's nothing there as such to want to keep me jumping into it, I suppose you could say. Because it's just a typical hack and slash that I've played many times before. There didn't seem to be too much strategy or anything behind it. It would very much just hack and slash. Now, it probably would get a lot harder, but I just get the feeling it's going to be just one of those where you have to grind again. Now, I saw that this game would probably take about 67 hours to beat. And I'm like, I do not understand why people boast about 67 hours when most of it is just a lot of text. melodramatic text. I'm all for text as well. But when it's not engaging, or when it doesn't really bear any resemblance to the overall plot, and it's just a lot of pointless dialogue, I'd rather have 20 to 30 hours of decent cut down content with a decent focused story than 30 hours worth of random dialogue. And some games do it right with the text, and it can be really long. Sometimes the game itself really has a way of pulling you in and engrossing you, and sometimes it could be down to the combat. That's just there's something about it that really pulls you in. And sometimes games like Persona, it's a very different. I think that works a lot more because it doesn't try it. I suppose it gives you a little bit more of a control over your character and what you choose to do, that it's not treated like a traditional RPG, if you know what I mean. I think that's the reason why, even though as long as it is, because it's not treated like a traditional RPG, there's something engaging about it. I'm probably not explaining it very well, but when a game is a traditional RPG like the Sword Art Online, you have to take it at the base value that most of it is just random, pointless dialogue. And to me, I'd rather have a cut down, focused, enjoyable game with a leveling up the character, rather than reading a lot of dialogue that I don't care about. Does that make sense? I don't know. Probably not, and I apologise if I've made absolutely no sense and I've just talked utter rubbish for the past 5-10 minutes. But that is my opinion. I mean, how about you guys? Are you a Sword Art Online fan? Are you mad at me now? I'm sorry if I have upset you. But yeah, it is just my opinion. I could enjoy it, but I'd rather wait for a sale on this one, I think. But I must admit, it's kind of made me want to buy the other Sword Art games again and get two for like a third of the price. So I'll take from that. But yeah, let us know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Laters.
問題ない。
なあ、ありがとう。
ムカつく。
それじゃあ急ぐぞ。
終わったね。お疲れ様。終わったな。お疲れ様。
勝ったね。やった。いた、間に合った。いや、
問題はない。一匹残らず蹴散らして。
ね。
し、
お疲れ様。
私たちの勝ちだ。
女の子がさっきみたいな獣がいるかも。
っていうか、
急いではいない。
なるほど。
よ
いや、お腹も空いたし。
キリトはお腹を満たし
そうだろ。あ、ちょうどもう一人。
おい、
メディナ。
するわけ。
なんでだよ。
行くと言ったら行く。
大丈夫？
あ、メディナ。
あり。ムカつく。
よし。
も
よし。さてと、それと楽しみだ。